My first job out of uni, actually I was a flight attendant.
Oh,
I went flying with Singapore Airlines. 10 years of flying. And in between flying, I was doing some hustle. I was starting my cafe, was doing sports app, was doing here and there. My turning point was a sad story. When the auntie fell sick, something that I feel very restored my faith in humanity was the whole garden was there for her. Going to the hospital. So that moment in time, I captured it perfectly. I was right standing behind, walking with the aunties all in front. I was like, oh my God, this group of people, they are really truly family. Hi everyone, my name is Roc and welcome to today's podcast, Clean Your Toilet Podcast. And in this episode, we have Angjolie and myself, Roc here. I'm a co-founder for Corridor Farmers. So a bit about myself before we pass it over to Angjolie, what she do. So I run Corridor Farmers full-time. So this is basically an urban farming startup. And what we do is we build micro farms, engage the community, and of course, a bit of produce goes to the community. And as a whole, we'll share more later. That's probably what I do as an urban farmer. And maybe to Angjolie.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Angjolie. So for my work, I take care of those who can no longer take care of themselves, taking care from the time they pass all the way until after they pass, even helping family continue the care in terms of the legacy where they need to get the estate done up. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Wow, hair rising. To be honest, I recently have, just recent years, I have the experience of my late dad passing on, and I totally understand how trauma it can get, and that service is really, very relevant to a lot of people like myself who don't know what to do, especially when I have cases like this. Wow, great work you're doing for sure.
Oh, thank you.
And for audience, it's my first time meeting Angjolie.
Yeah, same.
It's my first time meeting a funeral director right here on a podcast, to be honest. Wow, great work. So maybe Angjolie, because today's session is about confessions of the unconventional, and people will say that my profession is unconventional, but wait till they hear your professions. I think it's really different from a lot of cases. So maybe to kick off, when was it you first realized, you're not so conventional?
Oh, I think as a young kid, I already thought I was a bit odd. I think I was quite a lone ranger. I like to do things alone. Even though I try to be social, but I think there's a new word for people like us. So I'm not really an extrovert. I'm actually
extroverted introvert.
Yeah, something like this. One of those I can get charged out when there's a group of people, but actually you will start to see I go back and hibernate because I need to recharge my battery, like a docking system. Are you the same?
I think I'm somewhat the same. I love my personal time. I need to recharge, but when I'm with audiences or people, I can socialize, but then again, I prefer that, that personal time. I think we are alike.
Yeah, we are very similar, like in that case where I think I can't constantly be in rah-rahing too much. I need a docking system. That's why I will go back and dock in that station, dock with my dog, my daughter, my husband, and then, recharge, then go back again. But sometimes even just a nap can help. But I think that part about unconvention, I always feel a bit odd when I was a kid. Yeah, like I...
Were there instances?
I think people like to hang out with me, but I choose not to sometimes. And I have to very politely tell them, because I used to walk from home, from school to home. And there will be times where, even though I know it's along the way, they will be like, hey, let's walk home together. I would be like, actually I need to do something, and then I will like go off and then do something, but actually the fact is I just don't want them to follow me.
So it's not like being shy, more like a decision and
I'm very aware, like, I need my me time. I need to be away from people. And I think as a kid, I don't follow trends. Like when, I don't know whether you look younger than me, but back then people were using this bag called Eastpak.
Oh yeah, I know.
Eastpak, right? Yeah. So they were using the bag Eastpak. And then I purposely went to the shop and I said, I don't want Eastpak. Then I pointed to the bag that looks similar to Eastpak, but it's not. It's called Outdoors. And I wanted that bag. So I said, I don't want
it's also in,
No, back then, no. Everybody has an East pack. Then when people started to use outdoor, then I changed my bag. I just don't want to
follow the norm.
No, I don't like to follow trends. I like my own style, what I can get the energy like, this one I like. So I always try to be different. Like even shoes also, like when people are like, oh, this shoes is good, I'm like, nope, not for me. And then I'll find something that's more unique for myself. What about you? Did you find yourself very unconventional too?
Well, I like to stick with the mainstream, what is in, I like, but a lot of times it's because no choice are poor. So, you don't have the option, so you have to go for a lower option. But I like to follow. So unfortunately, yeah. But then it makes me different. So I feel different most of the time because, in fact, there are some real confessions about myself because when I was young, my family is not the richest to begin with. And a lot of times we have to go for lower options, affordable options. So then I feel, is it... I have some minor resentment to begin with my parents' situation.
Okay.
But along the years, as I grew up, I realized, they are doing the best that they can. And in fact, I'm very thankful for this realization and this internalization of mine. So, then somehow or rather, there were a lot of situations in my life that make me more aware that I'm actually different from the rest. So, for example, my decision in my academic path to be, people will go for the mainstreams, things like that. I always looking for something different. So, when I entered polytechnic, I was looking for, hey, I want to go into mass comm. Partly because I think I like media. I want to do filming. Then so I tried to apply for Neon. Back then Neon was good in mass comm and I couldn't get in. So I was looking around, what can I choose for? Or what should I do to actually enter this particular diploma? So my English was C6. They say you need a minimum B4 or something like that. I retook my O-levels English and retake still C6. So I realized, either I take or I don't take, I still get C6. So might as well just stick to it. So after that, I discovered there was this course called multimedia computing.
Okay.
I saw the word multimedia. Okay, it has to do with something with media.
Yeah.
I'm still quite naive. And I went in, got to know it's IT, full of programming.
Oh boy.
But it sort of changed me perspective in programming. I excel at it.
Wow.
And it's because of multimedia programming, I become the top few cohort, in the cohort. And during my diploma, while people were studying and enjoying their life, I took up cheerleading.
Oh.
Yeah, cheerleading. How many
so
of
are you
us
the one who lifts the girls and spin them?
Yeah, but you see, when you talk about cheerleading, people will think that it's pom-pom and things like that, right? And then just hopping around. So I also didn't know about cheerleading until...
but what made you took up cheerleading?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it a girl that you're trying to go after?
See, it was not really the girl. I was like a skateboarder kind of person back then. And my friend who joined cheerleading said, hey, there's a lot of girls, you should come. So we just entering Ngee Ann Poly, and then I say, okay, let me try. I got in, I signed up myself for cheerleading. Then I realized not the kind of thing I'm imagining, not really the girls and things like that. A lot of stretching.
Yeah.
And I wanted to join, back then there was hip hop dance, the beginning of hip hop dance trend.
True.
Again, you need some, background experience. You have to go for the audition. I didn't have the guts to go for audition. So,
but cheerleading, you don't need to.
You don't need to because they were short of guys. You see, everybody was scared.
That's true.
So then I joined. I only came for a few sessions. But a year later, what happened was in my second year, my coach back then called me out in the middle of the night. Hey, Roc, we need help. And he thinks that I'm fit for it. We need help in the nationals team.
Whoa.
Yeah, I say one of the team members just back out and had some personal issues. So they need a spot to be filled. I say, okay, I'll help you, but I don't think I'm qualified. So I went through that cheerleading route and then eventually, it sort of trained me. And can you imagine, back then you're like 17, 18 years old? You're training every day before nationals until midnight.
Oh, yeah.
We're like tossing girls, training. But that period of time really grind me a lot. And I find army just like, nothing.
As compared to cheerleading.
Exactly. But that path of cheerleader is really very unconventional. Really. Did I enjoy it? Pretty much. Will I do it again? Or I have some self-doubt to be because I can't stretch for nuts right now. Back then I could, but right now no. So then slowly as I go on from diploma, I went into uni. again, I try my luck. Can I go into filming?
Mass media. Okay.
Yeah, I want to go into art design media school in NTU back then. Couldn't get in because I have no portfolio.
Okay.
So then, again, like randomly shopping, there was a new course called Information Engineering and Media.
And then the media got your attention again.
Exactly, same thing again. And I got in. I was the first batch of the degree. And what happened was, in that particular program, we have to do all sorts of things. Programming, which I'm pretty good. Engineering, I know nuts about engineering. We have to do media, something like this. Really something like this. And we have to do arts. So can you imagine an engineer going to art school and we have to do nude drawing? So I excel in the IT, I excel in the mass comm and the arts. I flunked everything possible for engineering. So it was very, very different. And people are asking, what are you doing with your academic path? People are heading towards, a direction.
Yeah.
I was quite confused back then, to be honest. After NS, we have to do NS before we go uni, right? So at year 2 or year 3, I was scratching my head. What am I doing? I'm like, jack of all trades. I'm not even sure what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I decided, I decided to take this leap of faith. I say here in my final years, actually. In my final year, when people were looking for a job, looking to fulfill their final year project, I took up a minor in entrepreneurship. That was my turning point in life, to be honest. Because I was scratching head, I was watching video. Somebody that influenced me quite a fair bit when I was in uni. Back then, I had a breakout and I was questioning my life totally. This gentleman called Sir Ken Robinson, yeah. And he questioned about school. He says school kills creativity. Which I truly agree at that point in time because I was struggling with school.
But you weren't struggling. You were top. You were topping
yeah,
your
I was
class.
top in poly. After that, after army, I just went.
In uni, you mean?
Yeah, in uni, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Totally, what am I doing? So then when I went into entrepreneurship, minor in entrepreneurship, everything sort of fell into place. And I was like, hey, people are looking for a job. I'm not, nah, job is not for me. So that's when I began my journey of entrepreneurship. And that's why along my path, my professional life, I have been doing a lot of hustles. Something that you may not know about me. After I graduated, I've been doing, you heard about my entrepreneurship journey, but actually I was a flight attendant. I went flying with Singapore Airlines. I read a bit about you before I come here, and you were
I'm
around
learning
the world.
about you.
You were around the world, giving talks and things like that.
Wow. So you were a flight attendant.
Yeah.
Then what is your second life? That's your first life, I guess. Your first job.
Yeah. In fact, that was my first job out of uni. At that point in time, I was trying to run a hustle with my friends. Back then, Singapore was starting out with sports. The sports stadium was building up.
Okay.
We thought there would be a trend in sports events management. Yeah, but we were young kids in the block and I have background in sports. So we thought, hey, maybe that's something for us, but we have no experience. Eventually, me and my co-founders fall out, and my co-founders, back then girlfriend, now the wife, told me, hey, Roc, you are cut out for flight attendant. Just go for the interview. That fateful day, he woke me up from sleep. You must go now. And then that was me, 10 years of flying. Until...
You fly for 10 years?
Yes, until 2022. And in between flying, I was doing some hustle. I was starting my cafe, was doing sports app, was doing here and there.
Oh my God, you're so multi-talented.
Well, I believe through my background, I was thinking every individual have to find their way of adding value to the society or find a value that people are willing to pay. And that was really something I take away from entrepreneurship. The value proposition must be strong.
So how did you then stumble into... after that, you were flying up on the land, up in the sky. Suddenly, I want to come back to...
Yeah, in the sky, then on the ground.
Come back to land.
So in 2018-19, I think partly because my mom is aging as well, and I wanted my mom to have a social and physical outlet because I'm never around in Singapore. And she's really a super introvert. Yeah, so I wanted her to socialize and take on some form of activities. So then I saw there's a community garden at my void deck. And the uncle and aunties are like, tending, and then they always gather around. And I say, hey, this is a perfect spot. Can we get a plot? So we got lucky. I enrolled for a plot and we got it.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was a turning point, not for my mom, but for me. That is a funny thing. So when we were fiddling around with gardening and farming, I would say, we grew things, and then the resident was there to help us. So then I would say, hey, interesting. Maybe I should convert my own corridor. Outside where my mom has potted plants and things like that. She don't really know how to take care of plants. And I say, hey, I'm flying. Can I solve this problem of me flying, being away, and maybe convert this corridor into food production area? Vegetables and things like that. And I say, hey, yeah, I should feed her with tech. That was because I'm a tech person, IT and things like that.
Exactly.
So I say, hey, yeah, let's try. Let's do solar panel. Let's do a 3D printed remote control from when I was in LA. I can control it, do farming. So that's when I converted my whole corridor, replaced all her potted plants, become production for vegetable. And I feed her with all this tech, solar, 3D printing kind of thing.
Wow.
And then at the same time, we have a community garden downstairs. So she will be taking charge of that. I'll be doing the top one. But as I feed her with tech, I realized I'm doing more calibration, calibrating the tech than really growing the plants. And
because it needs to be the right temperature, water, blah blah blah, in order to grow. Because I tried growing. I need some tips from you.
So that was a point. You're right. You're definitely right. A lot of us actually we always say we don't have green thumb, right? Just aside lah. So we always say we don't have green thumb. That the fact is we don't know our microenvironment. Yeah, we don't have sensor to test what is our environment like. So we may be aware what the plants need. We may be aware the plants need certain things, but we don't know our microclimate. So we are always putting the plant in the wrong place. So this is the unfortunate fact that most of us are not aware. Yeah. So coming back to that, so the turning point was really when one of auntie fell sick. Many times community garden will have potluck, all these they share happy stories. Yes. But my turning point was a sad story. When the auntie fell sick, something that I feel very restored my faith in humanity was the whole garden was there for her. Going to the hospital. So that moment in time, I captured it perfectly. I was right standing behind, walking with the aunties all in front. I was like, oh my God, this group of people, they are really truly family. Can I do something with with my means? In fact, I also tried to deepen my knowledge in gardening. So I was the first batch of diploma in urban farming in Singapore by Republic Poly.
Okay.
I took the first batch. So I was thinking, I have this diploma, I'm learning this, and I have tech background. Can we do something for this group of people? Can we empower them? They put in so much time and effort and money. Maybe we can create an app because there were residents who are interested in their produce. They want to, hey, this is hard grown.
Yep.
But they don't know who to reach out to. So I thought an app could work out. You could list your vegetable and your neighbors could be your farmer and you can pay that $1, $2 like Carousel.
Wow.
So I took this idea with a group of SUSS students, not SUSS, SUTD students, back then in 2019 when COVID almost started. So then we won a Startup Weekend Hackathon champion, but it was first of its kind online. Then I took on the idea myself. So joint venture with my classmates from the diploma. And then we start our corridor farmers because I do corridor farming back then. And in 2020, we launched the app. And it took us 1 year plus before we decided, no, it could not work out. The app could not work out because of product market mismatch. The product is there, but people are the gardeners, are old uncle and aunties. They don't use app, they don't use handphone.
Yeah.
So then we decided to pivot away. Yeah.
So now are you still with a corridor?
Yeah, I'm still doing corridor farmers, but we are not an app-based company. So now we are more like a urban farming consultant. So what we do is we build for our clients. So we actually work with hotels. One of good hotel, our good client is Fairmont Suites Hotel. So they have their own aquaponics farm. So from vegetables, I'm very thankful my clients believe in me and saw the potential in us. Let us build. Canadian International School was the first that reached out to us. Asked us to convert the whole rooftop to be a garden and farm. So we was like, okay, it's a big undertaking. I'm a flight attendant. But I went to door knock on landscaping companies. That was where I met my mentor also. Then I really got a chance to build.
Like the whole garden with vegetables.
Like hoisting, construction material up to the rooftop, and then after wearing the helmet and then doing the build, construct. It was like a total switch. Yeah,
but I mean that's your because you mentioned earlier about that one of the auntie.
Yes.
So sort of curious how that perhaps was that thing that touched you, the fact that the community, and did that shape maybe your outlook of life after that? Because you mentioned your dad passed recently.
Yeah. So that moment in time when the community came together, it touched me a lot, and it says so much about. I saw the power of community garden. I'm an entrepreneur. I like to see value in things. I saw the magic of how such an establishment, a garden establishment or micro farm, sometimes I coin it, could empower people besides the food part. So that itself, I say there is a value in it. And this value is a good value that should be spread around. And this, true enough, what we are doing now, our vision is a farm in every corner, a family in every corner. And this is what we want to advocate through this. And it's that point in time that changed my mind about a garden. Unlike many people say a garden, hey, this is an auntie, uncle, pastime. But I see that value very strongly. So yeah, did I doubt myself? I doubt myself a lot of times whether I can make this a success. There are so many communities out there, right? Community gardens are everywhere. What is it different from yours, what you're providing? And a lot of times these community gardens are provided by the government. But some are like white elephant. How can you shape it? Yeah, that is something that we have been working on. And it's really a people part and the competency part that we have. So coming to doubts, I have doubts about my competency, constructing, being competent in gardening, getting people together. So maybe about yourself, Angeline, do you doubt yourself and doubt yourself about your path? Funeral service is not a typical path for anyone.
Yeah, I think interestingly, I doubt myself as a business person, not so much as the role I play. So I really enjoy being in the funeral. I have this, I may not be a flight attendant, but I love one of the things that every time I travel, right? So that's why maybe not a lot of friends want to travel with me. I will go to cemeteries. I will go to funeral home. I will go and I will write to a funeral home and say, hey, can I come and work for you? I got this few days. Or can I come and meet you? Can I see your place? So, And whenever I travel, let's say example for some conference, I always have one extra day before and one extra day after. So in fact, I just came back from Hong Kong, and as usual, one day before, one day after. It's actually these 2 days is for me to go and find out what are the things I can see, so
value add to the business?
Oh no, just for knowledge purpose, because now we have so many international clients or international friends in Singapore, and then when they pass away, what is the process like? And I have to say that I disagree with this phrase when it comes to funeral, which is a Rome should do what a Rome does, right? Like you must follow the way. So you can't expect someone who is a non-Singaporean to have a funeral wake just because, this is how we do it here. You must follow our style. But maybe in their culture, they don't do that. They have 1 day service and that's it. And you must understand the different culture. Then you can better represent them. So I love to go travel and do that. And then just so happened I was in Hong Kong and my team member said, you need to go and talk to this guy because he helped us with one of the repatriation and he can speak very good English. And then my Cantonese is 6:30, right? So I was, I said, good idea. Let me text him. And this was about 4:30 when I checked into the hotel.
Wow, straight after flight.
Straight after flight, I text him. I like, hey, I don't know whether you remember me, but you took care of one of our customer. Just wanted to say thanks. And do you think you are free tomorrow? I would like to come by to your office. So I thought his office is funeral home, right? Then he said, sure, come to our office. Then I said, by any chance, do you think I can actually observe embalming? Then he said, actually, there is an embalming case later if you would like to see. So I'm that kind of person who will be like, super on one. Anytime I will get ready. So I remember I texted him, I said, but I don't have scrubs. So he said, don't worry, I'll get you PPE. So the only thing is, because you don't have your proper scrub equipment, so I have to sanitize my outfit and all that in the proper way. But that's something I love doing. And then so the next day, because my event starts in the evening, so I had one full day, right? So in the morning, I went to meet him and his boss for breakfast. So he brought me to the industrial kopitiam. So, when I went there, I was like, wow, your kopitiam. So my expectation is Singapore kopitiam is all ground floor, right? Their kopitiam is not from ground floor. It's like on the 7th floor. Okay. And I was thinking, wow, you have all the equipment here. And then in between shop offices, it's like, wow, isn't that a fire hazard lah? That's the first thing I thought. But he was like, I hope you don't mind this cha chan thing. It's very traditional. I said, this is what I love. Like, give me something traditional. Then he wanted to keep me a bit longer. I said, but sorry, because I have a time check. Right? I said, I want to visit this very popular or this cemetery, because their cemetery is very, they have cemetery that they are buried and they it's forever there, right?
Also.
Yeah, buried because it's like running out of spaces too.
Yeah.
So, example, if you meet a Hong Konger, you will hear a Hong Kong friend tells you that the funeral doesn't start immediately. So if you watch recently, there's a Hong Kong show called Last Dance, 破地狱. So happened when I went into the funeral home, there was actually a Taoist priest doing the ritual right there.
Okay.
So interesting, I saw this, like it's a collapsible tub.
Okay.
So where they open up and then there's water and actually there's a 一条鱼, there's a fish in there.
Wow.
And then the Sai Kong, which is the priest, was doing some ritual. And then all the family members, they pi ma tai xiao, they are wearing the outfit, right? And I was like, what is this fish for? And then because Singapore, we don't have that, right? So I was like trying to connect the dots, like, Cantonese and Singapore, we also have Cantonese Taoist. How come different? So anyway, I didn't ask much that day because we were focused on the embalming. So the next day, the owner actually gave me his book. So I just happened to flip. And then the universe always helped me answer my questions, right? And I saw that page. So it's actually apparently to regard that person as a fisherman. He was a fisherman. So actually I should ask the question, what if he's a farmer? Then what do you put? How to 捕鱼的, like they
the
fisherman.
This is really a
so then the fish was a symbol.
Wow, of this profession. Wow.
So that was something I learned, right? So that's why you go to every country, you learn different things.
Wow.
Culture. So maybe that's why when
that's
I
an interesting
travel,
way of looking at culture in the form of, passing.
Yeah. So I see, you see, I get very excited. I should control myself.
No. I mean, this. No, this is why passionate people talk. When they are passionate about something, they talk about the passion.
What was the question?
Okay.
What's the question again?
Your own self-doubt when you pursue something different from other. Did you even doubt yourself? I believe you were talking about the business part.
Yeah. So sometimes I ask myself like, because running a business, you've been through entrepreneurship. It's not like what other people think, right?
Yeah.
They always feel that, you tauke, you control your own time. But you one thing that people or friends who are employed, they fail to understand that is that whether you do a good job or not, you still get paid for that month, right?
Right.
But if my business is not doing well, I can't pay my team. And because I can't pay my team, then how are they going to take care of the family? So I think that part was the doubt that I had in the beginning where I wonder if I'm on the right track. And then secondly, because my company was so different where it was about celebrating life. So I also asked myself, what do people don't want to celebrate? Why would they want to celebrate? Would they see the same vision as I have? Because I see that, it should be about celebration. And I started maybe, in 2010. So people may not be ready. Even just like putting out photograph, now it's very common. You see montage, you see photograph. But back then when I just proposed, like, would you like to consider putting out photographs of your mom? They will be like, how can you put living people's photograph up at a funeral wake? Yeah. So there were times where I mean, in the beginning of my journey, am I on the right path? Like, is it something that maybe I can't change mindset?
But I see you as a successful person. The moment you say, what if people don't want to celebrate? You are a person, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel you have that empathy. You have that strong empathy, very, very powerful empathy because you are, you have a business. But then the other follow-up question is, do you get pressure from, because it's a family business, I believe.
It's my own company.
It's your own company, wow.
Oh, that's a very good one because initially when I first started, yes, my dad was the reason I came into this industry because he passed away. And I think at a point, I just graduated from uni. Actually, I studied also something that I didn't think I would ever use, which was econs and psychology. And psychology wasn't a subject I chose. I wanted to do math and statistics. So my friend was like, hey, let's do the psych exam together. I said, okay lah. So I just went with her. And I got in and she didn't. So she was quite angry, like, how come you got in? I didn't. But that was the best subject. I really, truly enjoy psychology a lot. And I think because when I look at the business, when I first started, I really didn't know anything. And 2010, when I told my mom I wanted to start my own, because you are always starting business on your own, right? People who run family businesses, you probably have struggled because you are changing mindsets. You are changing or pivoting to something different, something that our parents are not used to. So it takes time to convince them. But sometimes what I felt was, I can maybe advance 2 steps, but I have to take another 5 steps back because not ready, market not ready, mom not ready. So I think the big leap of faith was really start my own, start clean slate, don't touch my mom's brand, my dad's brand. And then if I fail, is this brand that fails.
You're responsible for your...
Yes, accountable.
Yep.
This is mine. Yeah. So I can then say, okay, I go back to work for something, But I think that part was when I realized there was also, struggle where people maybe feel that 一听到, the minute they hear it, it's like, yeah, you're so unfilial. Why you break away from your family? You should help your family business. But what they don't know is that it was a struggle to convince my mom. And I actually told my mom that before I started the Life Celebrant, my own company, was that I don't want to lose a mom. Okay, when I say that, it means that 我不要 break that relationship.
Yeah.
I'd rather step away. And sometimes people are like, wow, actually, I realized, how can you do that? You don't love your mom. I said, you're wrong. I love my mom. That's why I have to let it go. Yeah, I have to let it go. And it's a hard decision for me because it's my dad's brand. And I think about it, I want to cry. You really want to do proud for your parents, right? And you always feel like, am I a disappointment? Am I making them proud? So at a point where I felt like, wow, I have to step away from my dad's business because I was having so much conflict with my mom, that it come to a point where I don't want her to see my face or call me and it's always, terms of arguments, or like, how come you do this? How come you do that? Then I thought, okay, I love you so much that I need to step back. And then when I told her I was going to step away, instead of saying, no, you can't, my mom was very supportive. And she said, you just go and run your own. Maybe in a way it was like, 你自己去闯, you go and...
She was hoping that you may...
Hyong it out, Then if you fail, it's your business. But at least you try. So I think she come to a point where she cannot control me, because at 30 years old, I remember my mom telling me, I don't need to worry about you anymore. So I said, oh, why do you say that? And then
graduated.
And she said, because every time you fall, you get up. Every time you fall, you get up. I said, oh, that's good to hear. It's a bit of a consolation for yourself, right? So now at least I can talk to my mom. I don't have to worry like, is she gonna scold me about my business, or like, why did I not do this? Why do I do this? So so it was a big decision back then.
Oh, what makes your mom don't want you in the business? I thought your mom may want you, but maybe...
Yeah. A lot of people ask like, isn't it a blessing if your parents hear that, oh, Ma, I'm gonna come back and help you in the business. My mom is the totally opposite, because usually family business, they will be so happy if the children want to come back. Yeah. But I think because my mom, she had the first encounter of marrying a funeral director. And she shared with me, do you know, I lost a lot of my friends. So growing up, I always have this mindset from my mom that, we were her life. Like the kids were her life. So I don't even remember my mom going out, having a social life. We were her life entirely. And I think that part of her, she feared that, we will have a social life, and the fact that we went through uni, we have degree. Why do you want to come back to this industry where it's not welcomed by people? And I knew that when she married my dad, my akong, which is my maternal, her own father was also not in approval at first. So it took years for my dad to prove himself, right? So I remember when I actually came in without asking my mom permission. I said, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to help you. And of course, she's like, no, it's okay. My mom is like typical, not Teochew, she's Hokkien woman. Everything, like my grandmother is like that. My great-grandmother is the same. They just don't want to rely on anybody. So she's like, no, go back, continue with your logistics work. And I said, no, I want to come back to help you. So I just quit my job. And I had a very understanding boss, because he also is an SME. So he said, go and help your mom. I didn't even have to serve notice. Ooh. So he just come take your things after the funeral and then go back and help my mom.
So your mom was discouraging you because partly due to the recognition
and then association
with the funeral services.
Yeah, and then she always worries. She's like, 等一下你嫁不出去啊, you cannot get married ah, nobody wants you, and then your in-law, da. And then I said, okay, but that's why I said I'm different, right? So at that point I said, if the man mind the fact that I'm in this business, then maybe he's not the man I should marry. Then she's like, yeah, you don't understand. So my mom had her her mindset, which is when she was younger. She married my dad quite young, and my dad was much older. My dad was 15
did you ask
years.
your mom this question? Why did you marry the dad? Who
my mom
is going into that?
My mom always, I don't know what I can say, but I think my mom felt like marrying an older man is better. Then she said she only found out after the marriage that it's not true, because they said, she always tell me, I thought marrying an older man 会比较疼我, 会 like sayang me more. Then she said after marrying your dad, no, it didn't happen. So we always joke about it. Yeah, but I think because she told me before my dad was a man who was her age, and she felt that maybe the maturity wasn't there. So my mom got married at 23 and my dad was already 38. Yeah, so the age gap was something that enticed her lah. So I think that was the reason she married.
Would you say personally, because I understand you feel that there's a difference between you and the common stream, would you say your startup and your journey, you are actually trying to get your mom to acknowledge what you're doing? Is that something?
I think not quite. It wasn't a knowledge, but how can I help more people to have better closure, or rather to have a more meaningful farewell? I feel that there was one point of time where I told myself, I'm in this pursuit of a good farewell. What is a good farewell? What does it mean to have a good closure? Because however you take care, I don't know what I mean if it's too sensitive. When your dad's funeral, whether you do, if it's a good funeral or a bad funeral, you will remember for life, because you have only once to have a funeral. And what I noticed about the industry was it was very backwards. It was always crying. It was always about talking about the person's final stage of life, but never about what he or she has contributed for the entire life, the people she has touched, the stories, that he maybe have achieved, or it could be an inspiration for us. But we don't talk about it. We only just like 守三三年, back in the past, like you have to grieve for 3 years. And nowadays it's no longer that kind,
correct,
right? So I think that part, I think at 30, when I started my own company, I have finally let go of seeking approval from my parents. I think that part, I come to peace with it, that it is my life journey. And then whether my mom like it or not, at least I'm accountable for myself. And that if I fail, then I maybe go into farming like you, start up some community thing, Wow,
yeah. I like how you position it, and it's such a unique value proposition, to be honest, to celebrate. And funerals that I went through, it's always about, what happened to him? How come passed away?
Exactly, yeah.
No one is talking about what he has achieved and celebrating life. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, talking about when you talk about farming, corridor farming, it is really unconventional. I'm just curious, like, do people say like you crazy as hell? Why you want to plant all this plant on my corridor? And then wait, I need to ask, do you get complained or not? Or people complain, what you doing all this? Or because you are feeding them, they're like, wow, very good, you build more.
I don't get complaints on my business, but in my business, but I do get people putting feedback. Yeah, corridor, because I did took a Grab before, and then the auntie was like, "What, corridor farming? Walao, nuance. It's a nuance to add. These amenities." They like to use this term, these amenities. It's like, wow, little mosquito breeding. But as we look at a city point of view, for me, farming is way beyond just food. It's about community. Yeah, the people aspect, there's so much. But there's also this urban city. We are so urbanized. Yeah. We are so disconnected. And also the situation with sustainability and global climate situation, cities have to plan in a very, very, very strategic way. And what I've noticed through my experience in flying, I noticed Singapore becoming greener. You see buildings with rooftop gardens and things like that. I foresee the future of Singapore from landscape become edibles. So instead of just, green things that people can't eat and you need Bangladeshi to maintain, now it becomes something that has the element of people and with the food production. So this is why I see the value. It's about changing mindset. You're right. A lot of people have this negative persona. But again, we live in Singapore. Unfortunately, there will be the naysayers for sure. It's how we change the perspective. Maybe this group of people are just not your clientele, or maybe the people that believe in your work. But there is another group of people who truly believe, and this is what you're talking about: celebrating life, celebrating the more positive aspects of things. So I choose not to listen to this group of people, but to focus on this part. Yeah,
get the feedback.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but I think for I tried having like plants, or I actually have a lot of plants. I love plants, and then so I give up on having herbs. Somehow, I don't know, the herbs just never live long enough. Like rosemary, you go to the, you buy one pot, sweet, it looks so nice, then after that, after a while, it cannot tahan. So, but now I've successfully, at least chili padi is growing. It almost died. I was like talking to the chili padi, please let it grow. Then I just put a bit of water. Because, like typical of us, the minute we see, is like, dry, you put more water. So then I said, maybe the position is not good. So I shifted my chili pad. And then I like to talk to things, even pen, or I like to talk to plants and so I said, okay, maybe you feel alone. I put you next to this plant, okay? Yeah. Then I put you together. Then it works. It works. I said, okay, 你自己照顾一下.
Found a sweet spot. Yeah, you found a sweet spot.
It is a community. I think that sometimes we just don't realize the impact. And I strongly believe in community because, my grandma passed away during COVID. And the only reason her condition deteriorated so much was because she just happened to walk past someone who was diagnosed with with COVID virus. And this was a time where it was the beginning stage, right? So you are forced to, you cannot go out, you're quarantined for 2 weeks. That 2 weeks was very hard on her because she has no community. And then the only except for the helper was taking care. And I think I didn't, because my ama are very independent, and I think the helper also didn't realize. But what could, touch wood, if things are, if I can go back in time, I probably do more FaceTime, right? Just telling her, giving her, that kind of support, even because she's like grumbling. So we just assume, ama, okay lah, she grumble loud, it's the same, it will pass. But 2 weeks after when I went to see her, she has completely changed. And then her condition deteriorated. And she was not even sick, before that. So the thing that I learned about was older people, don't leave them alone. At times, like even in a conversation, so I like to strike conversation with anyone. Like sometimes just like just a conversation to let them feel seen, right? I think that matters a lot.
Yes, that's right.
And I also teach my daughter. There are times where I remember we had an uncle. So I've been living in this walkout apartment. So this uncle always opened his door and he looked at the people walk by, right? But he always this face, very serious face. So living there for so many years, I always say, hello, uncle.
And it's a greeting, right?
Just a greeting. Your parents will teach you, 要叫人. So, hello, uncle. He knows I'm the neighbor, right? I mean, every time I walk down the stairs. But it was when my daughter started to walk. And I always remember the first encounter. Somehow, rather, I think my daughter saw something in this uncle. And she went to him and started to hug him.
Wow.
And this uncle is like in his 90s, right? And then you saw this, smile break out,
And that was a cure for the isolation.
Yeah. So I didn't, and I always thought he lived alone because he doesn't seem to have any children stepping out of the house. So we were always worried, like, hey, is this uncle living alone? Because I stay in Tiong Bahru, so it's very old, very old estate. So then, started, finally I saw uncle smile. And in my moment, I was thinking, maybe my daughter saw something, like maybe, so happy to see you in this lifetime, Then it became a routine. She will walk down, she see uncle, and then she will go and like hug uncle. But because uncle's, his back is a little bit, hard to bend down. So he will use his head to kowtow, just like acknowledge her.
Wow.
Yeah. So then, so started when she can't speak a single word until she can speak. And then she will say things like telling the uncle about her toys. Like, this toy is like broken English, this. And then you see the smile on, his face, right? It brought so much, And then I actually secretly recorded all this interaction and this encounter. So until I always remember, like, she will always ask me, where's uncle? I haven't seen uncle, so he's not coming out. Because usually in the morning
He must be her favorite neighbor.
Yeah.
Right?
So same. My girl, there's once where after she hugged uncle, I recorded down and she said, that's my friend uncle.
Wow.
Yeah. So because, to me, I never say, hey, stop, cannot touch uncle, no, just let her. And when the uncle, that was when I realized he does have a family, because uncle has not come out from the house. And then one day I saw someone step out, and I just went, I said, my daughter is asking, is it your dad? He said, yes. I said, is he okay? He said, he's not well, he's resting already. So then I realized, the one who feeds the community cat is the son. So he's also a very private person, never talks, never open up. And then one day, I saw him again. I checked in, like, how's your dad? Then so he told me, I think it's gonna be soon. So when he passed away, typical occupational hazard. The minute you start to see the tentage and then the cable, the telephone,
trying to trace back.
Trace back which family, and then the PowerPoint, right? Is that I think uncle passed, and then the door was open, and then there were a lot more family members. So right?
How did your daughter reacted?
So because she was only, I think that time 2 years old, 2 plus or 3, and then I actually explained to her. I said, uncle passed. I said uncle died. Uncle 已经不在了. Then I said, let's go down. I will show you. So actually, I wrote a note for the family. And I said that, your daughter, my daughter and your father every morning has an interaction. And I just want to say that she was really, she every day she looked forward to look for your dad. So I gave them the condolence, because I usually give condolence money with envelope. And if I have a memory of
writing.
that, if I have a memory of this person, I will write a memory, right? And then they read out this memory.
Wow, that's something I learned to take away. I would like to do that.
You should do that. It's a very simple gesture. So I actually shared that with the family. The family, the next day at his funeral, I brought my daughter, and they were like, you are the little girl. So that every family member came. And I thought that closure, so actually I told the family, I recorded a lot of the videos of them. If you don't mind, I would love to send to you. And they said, please, because then they said, my dad loved kids. But the fact is, I never see him with kids,
Yes, sure.
So that was when I learned, and then we got closer with the son after that.
Wow.
So I think that part, you never know what someone is going through. Right? Maybe you just judge, like, this uncle so fierce, don't talk to him.
That's
but you never know, by just one gesture, you can break that ice on the face. So what about you? I mean, your experience with so many community, I'm sure you meet a lot of all this auntie, uncle.
Oh yes, in fact, not beyond the garden or beyond farming. So a lot of times I feel it's not just about me empowering the community, or nor they are trying to gain something from me. When I was flying, I actually tried. I had this colleague. We were just talking. Then he said, we were talking about life and what we want to achieve, our bucket list. So I say, I want to make enough money, and then I want to help people. Or that was my bucket list back then. Then he shoot me back this question: what is it stopping you from doing it now?
Then
I was like, makes sense. Why not I start doing volunteer? So some days I'm off. That's when, before COVID, I was like, at least try to volunteer once a month. So through this community, through this engagement, through all this volunteering, I came to realize I'm not helping them. They are the one helping me. So when one particular incident or this volunteering session I remember so clearly was one of our auntie, no legs, amputated, staying alone in a single room flat. We are supposed to bring all this beneficiary out to a supermarket, get some grocery voucher and help them buy. So when I stepped to her house, her bed was just right next to the door. Because
easier.
Easier. She was the happiest person I ever met in life. And I was asking myself, given her situation, circumstances, what is it that give her courage and that happiness? Something I don't see in anyone before. And it changed my perspective of life. A lot of things just changed. And this is why what I'm doing, I mean, any graduates could be going high flying, MNCs and things like that, pursuing. I realized, sometimes it's not about monetary. And in fact, I have close experience, as you're sharing about COVID. I have close experience about COVID. I encountered COVID firsthand. through my line of work. Then I realized there's so much more, between all this luxury lifestyle and of course money, pursuing of money. Then I realized, there's so much values. So that was changing point, and I started to believe what I'm doing. And in fact, I always want to have a safety net. That's why I was flying and then doing side hustle. That safety net, it gives me a safety net, like having an income and then burning money elsewhere. So that after COVID, it changed my perspective. Maybe is outer supreme being saying that, hey, you need to stay grounded. You need to focus on one way or another. So that's when I decided I quit flying and then stay grounded in 2022, and then project lead on. Just keep spinning.
Yeah. No, I think sometimes we go through a lot, even like when I look at funeral, like you just shared, right, about the lady. We often look maybe on the surface.
Yes.
And then we assume that someone who has the biggest car, the most expensive car, the most expensive, diamond ring and all that, that will make them happy. But I don't know, what's your view about that? Like, how do you perceive success?
Well, I believe it's down to individual, because I wouldn't say there's a right or wrong way. But personally, I feel that you can't take away everything that you have built in this lifetime. You won't bring it to the next life or what. So what truly matters is maybe a legacy in form of being remembered. Yeah, and I have a bucket list. I told my fiance, before I die, an orphanage.
What do you mean an orphanage? Do you
want to build an orphanage?
To
open and build an orphanage. Because I have close encounter, partly because life experience. So back then when I was doing cheerleading, we got an opportunity to be in SEA Games to cheer for our Team Singapore. So I was first time going to Cebu, Philippines. Never in my life, when we step out of the airport in the coach, so many orphans on streets surrounding the bus.
Oh, wow.
Begging for things, any form of thing, clappers or anything, we just give. So that was a moment in time I was like, wow, I really haven't seen the world. Yeah, and when I see the world, I realized there's so much difference to what I perceive the world is. Yeah. So thankfully I have the opportunity to see the world, but I think it's really the culture you're talking about and things that are different. Not those kind of big brands and things like that, but I see the world differently, and I think I have much to contribute in Singapore at home.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, the fact that there are people who ask me like, what makes me happy? Actually, yes. Simple pleasures, I'm a very simple person. Like even the other day I was saying, oh, what makes you very happy? Like instantly, I said, oh, potato chips. Really? And I say I'm a chip date. I'm really? Like a chip date. Yeah. So, when I was about to go into labor, and then my husband actually prepared potato chips for me. He put it one corner. So after I gave birth, because after the epidural, right, actually I was very groggy. Then
and you see any potato chips?
No, so I couldn't. But then the next day, he saw that I was puking. So he's like, okay, I cannot show you the potato chip. But the next day, he actually showed me, he's like, oh, just to make you, this is happy. Your gift, I bought you potato chip. So very simple pleasure. And so things like, fishball also make me...
Fishball?
Because it's very nostalgic for me. It reminds me of my childhood. So I think simple pleasure. I don't know about you. Like, do you have simple pleasure? Because now that you 看破人生, you see a lot of things. And that even people who have... I think the happiest people is usually people who are contented within themselves. They are grateful. And that's something I keep wanting to teach my daughter. Like, being grateful, that... things that we have is not a given, right? And even I make her own her, even though she's only 6, I make her pay for her own things, like her toys.
Wow,
so she cannot. So she cannot. I said I can buy you books, anything that's enrichment. Yes. But if you want to buy toys or your present for your friend, you have to pay for it. And then now she's so she earns money by doing chores.
That's good. I did that when I was young. I remember I was quite entrepreneurial and young also. I was folding boats, and then after that,
sell it.
Yeah, I get my neighbors around. Hey, come! I show you my little store. You want to? But that's a good way to go about financial literacy, I think.
Yeah. But maybe she doesn't understand about save and invest. But I did tell her, like, sometimes she would tell me, oh, mommy, I bought this. I said, you know something about like keeping it for something. And then nowadays, when actually I didn't expect that, but whenever her friend's birthday, she'll be the one who go and she use her own money to pay. So I said that means a lot more than mommy pay for you or mommy choose a present, because now you can talk about the why you buy this present, not mommy buy and then you give, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
I think there's a lot more meaning
that's
now.
Right,
yeah.
That's right.
So I guess that helps. You know?
My simple, coming back to my simple
pleasure.
I think I like being in the moment next to the sea, listening to sea breeze, relaxing with my loved one, with my girl. I think I really enjoy that moment really. Just the calm, the relaxation, nothing to worry about in the world, even tomorrow. End of the world, at least you have this moment right here. I like that kind of
What about life? Because you were up there, then now you come back to ground. What has changed in, I would say, what has maybe been the biggest risk you've taken? And maybe
I think that safety net of having, you mentioned when you're a business person, it's not just about your income, it's about your staff, their livelihood as well. You have to make sure the money keeps coming in. Yeah. So you have a responsibility, not just for your family, also for the employees and for agreements you have signed, for things that you promised to do. That falls on your shoulder as a boss.
So that's why a lot of people say, hey, you're talking. I say, wow, you have no understand. Like, that's why entrepreneurs understand the stress, right? I remember there was once where at one point in time when I had to go through a bit of a manpower crunch. And then I was having coffee at a cafe. And then just when I was about to walk out, I saw another friend who he and the brother, and the both of them were standing like, they were smoking, right? So I just happened to park the car next to the smoking spot. So then he's like, hey, what are you doing here? I said, oh no, I'm just trying to clear my head because I'm going through this manpower crunch. And then he's like, oh, don't worry, us too. So it's like, I finally can speak to someone. Because if you speak to a friend who is employed, they can't understand the same stress.
Yes.
For them is, when I get my income, what can I buy? What do I need to pay, right? But then I have to think of, do I have enough to pay this supplier, pay this? All right. So I think it's sort of a different stress. But actually I wanted to ask you, how has that community farming helped your mom? Because you shared she was an introvert.
To be honest, yes. Back then when before the farming, she only been working in a factory previously, a factory worker. So she only have that few friends, 1 or 2 friends. Although they are like, she already quit or resigned 10 years, 20 years. Her conversation always on this particular friend in that company back then. After the gardening, you realize there's real people to talk about. And the conversation will not always be like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It will be like recently what they have done and things like that. So I think in terms of mental health is really helpful. Physical health wise, it's going to be a struggle. Same like for all the uncle and aunties. Over the years, their health will deteriorate. It's not going to be easy for them to do gardening. But overall, I think it has been really impactful for my mom especially. And I get to see her staying healthy. That's, I think...
And that also helps the fact that I find that, when someone loses their life partner, it's good to have that community to support them.
Yes, that's right.
And
fun fact, the gardeners were all there at the funeral helping us fold the jars people. So I was like, oh my God, this is something
exactly. So I strongly believe we need a community, even through grief. When you have a community to support going through a loss, it makes it's sort of a softer landing, knowing that maybe
there are people there for you.
There are people there for you, people who've been through it.
Yes.
They are there. Even just sometimes you don't really need to find the right words. You just need to be there.
Yes, exactly.
And then
exactly.
To let them know that if something happened, you're there. You know, you say like, oh, I'm sorry, wow, what happened? No need to ask questions, just be there.
Yes,
and if you don't know what to say, right?
That is a support system by itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the purpose of what you do, I actually gotta get you to help me, figure out my corridor farm. I would love to do that because that's where I can put all my, but at least one thing I used to have a lot, which is blue pea.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
it
grows so fast.
Yeah.
But then once you stop, I went travel, came back. I thought someone was helping, like there was a lot of rain. Should be okay.
Side, are you ground floor? Oh,
I'm the fourth.
fourth. Wow, ground floor.
But we have a
ground floor,
community
exactly.
farm.
Yeah.
So actually, I always see the farmers there, but I never thought of, hey, maybe I should go and
join,
help out.
yeah.
That's a good point. So what about maybe just to ask about your being through entrepreneurship and what you have gone through? I find like you maybe, I don't know how young you are, but given your age, but I think you have lived a life of maybe a 60-year-old, right? What would be a kind of a message of wisdom that you would like our listener to hear?
Well, you see, a lot of us always have self-doubt, and you always feel that you want to do something, you want to go for it, but you doubt yourself, and then you have that reserve, and you eventually decide not to go about it. See, I always believe that it's not the right or wrong decision that you take. It's the indecision of yours and not taking it that becomes a big problem. So with that, I think I really hope that our listeners get the courage to discover their inner self and work on their inner self, and then take the leap of faith.
I like that. I resonate a lot because back then I used this phrase. I learned it from a mentor. A lot of us, we are aiming, we aim, and then we try to wait for the time where we are ready, and then you fire, right? So a lot of people will do aim, ready, fire, but they never get to the ready.
Yes.
Right. So then his method of teaching was you aim, and then you fire. You're ready, you fire, then you aim.
Adjust.
Yes, you adjust because there's never a straight trajectory to where you go.
Correct.
So you just ready, fire first. So I'm like that lah. I'm like, I just chong first. Then sometimes I'm like, should I do that better? Like if I have so I think I'm the kind who is so passionate about what I do, right? Sometimes I just start things without thinking, do I financially have that means to support?
It will work out.
Yeah. So that's why. Yeah. Yes. So with that, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Clean Your Toilet Podcast.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.